Let's welcome in our morning guest as well. Mayuresh Joshi is with us. Sharmila Joshi is now joining us, as well as Sumit Bagadia is with us. Mayuresh will just join us in a bit. Sharmila, let's start with you. Let's first talk about the banking results, what's happening in Yes Bank, IndusInd Bank. Do you think markets have taken these results in a very matured way because the management has said it's a one-off in terms of their asset quality?
Yes, I think so. And when you also look at the fact that a lot of these stocks are sort of at peak valuations in that sense, way above where the rest of the banking stocks are trading at, then one must say that in spite of the small, saying the little disappointments in the numbers of both these stocks on one or the other parameter, market has taken that pretty much in its stride, and you haven't really seen either reaction immediately, like a knee-jerk reaction, and also I think most of the broking houses continue to be positive on both these stocks. So, I mean, it seems to sort of suggest that whatever could be the rough weather for this sector, these stocks are expected to weather it better than some of the other names, which is why I think this sort of the strong performance from select banking names, it seems, is likely to continue.
Right. What are your top picks?
Within this space, actually, I like Yes Bank and I continue to like DCB.
No. I was just generally asking about your top picks, not only in the banking space.
Well, actually, generally, I would just continue to, wait for results and try and sort of buy anything that seems to suggest a strong quarter, as well as going ahead, good visibility, and try and include stocks within the mid-cap space as opposed to too many names from the large cap.
Right. Sumit, what are your picks?
Hi, good morning, Pankaj. Well, I have a few picks for the day. The first one is Adani Port. Adani Port is looking good to me. Yesterday we saw a good move in the counter, and now looking at the chart, it seems that from present levels there is a possibility that we might see extended rally in which we can see levels of around 350, 360 as an immediate target. So for a trading perspective, if anyone wants to initiate a position in Adani Port, then that should be on long side. One can initiate long position at CMP, or if there is a dip of around 5 to 7 points from present levels, then that can be a good buying opportunity with a stop loss to be placed at 315 rupees on lower side for the upside target of 360 levels in next couple of days. The second pick is from banking space, and that is Bank of Baroda. Yesterday we saw a good move in Bank of Baroda. Now looking at the chart, it seems that on high side we can see immediately 190 as an immediate target, and overall we are expecting Bank of Baroda to touch levels of 200 very soon. So for a trading perspective, one can initiate long positions in Bank of Baroda at CMP with a stop loss to be placed at 174 levels on lower side for the immediate upside till 190 levels. The third pick for the day is from cement space. Ultratech Cement is looking good to me. I think one can initiate long positions in Ultratech Cement at CMP with a stop loss to be placed at around 39.10 on lower side. And on high side, we can expect Ultratech Cement to touch levels of around 4100 and 4150 as an overall target for next couple of days.
Right. Now in pre-open trade, we are seeing the Nifty above 9200 level, and IDC is seeing a 5.5% move. We'll wait to see if there's any news flow behind that move, at least in pre-open that we're seeing for IDC, and what happens once the markets open. Mayuresh, welcome. Good morning. What's your top picks?
Morning, Anisha. So again, we have to be very selective in these markets. Yes, banks is something that I generally like. But from a valuation perspective and from an earnings angle, my own sense is that the smaller private sector banks is something where I lay focus on at this point of time. So any disruptions or corrections in the market prices over the next few days or weeks becomes a good buying opportunity. So banks that I probably like are Karur Vysya Bank, Lakshmi Vilas Bank, Federal Bank, where our own expectations is that the asset quality recognition has been done on their balance sheets. There still might be stress in terms of a few corporate assets, textile assets for Karur Vysya Bank. A few of the MSME advances probably still getting recognized for Lakshmi Vilas and Federal Bank. But largely, I think the kind of provisioning that they've done, the kind of hit that they've taken, and the credit cost elevation that you've seen on their balance sheets would probably entail that as credit growth resumes into the system, these banks probably have provided for as were required in terms of their provisioning. And that would largely entail that as as asset quality pressures start easing off, the return ratios improve. So I think the smaller private banking space is something that I look out for. Within the larger universe, my own sense is that industrial consumables as a space still has a huge potential to go. So stocks like Grindwell, Carborundum, I think they moved up significantly, but again on significant declines. My own sense is that there is a huge business opportunity for them in terms of the unorganized market. As GST starts getting implemented, the entire pie probably comes to them, and they are having a market leadership position in the organized abrasive and ceramic space. So I think I'll watch out for these stocks as well. And from the luggage stroke travel industry, my own sense is VIP industries on decline is something that I'm preferring at this point of time. Asset light model, efficient working capital, low debt equity, dividend yield in excess of 1%, and with travel needs and air traffic expected to improve over the next few quarters and years, the organized market leader like VIP can be in a big advantage.
Right. There is also a call which is coming from UBS on macros of India, where they have maintained their Nifty target price. So their Nifty target price is 8,800. This is a December 2017 target, which means end of CY17 is where they see these levels at. Currently, of course, we are about 300 points above that level. But target is assuming that there'll be a 1 year forward 17 times PE multiple that the markets would get. Consensus earnings, according to them, are slightly elevated, and that can see a cut of around 7 to 8%. Expectations are running very high for Q4, and they don't see really that materializing. Two parts for this market. One is the consumer, one is the capex. They very unlikely see that there will be a macro recovery. However, they are saying that there is a silver lining within this, where middle income housing or the government push for middle income housing is a strong bias. But consumers, they expect to be mixed, and capex they do not expect really to pick up.
All right, we have a few stocks that we are watching out for on news developments, and Max Financial that we'll be watching. Zenock, it's a unit of Goldman Sachs, is going to sell 4.8% stake in Max Financial. So watch out for that block deal when it happens. Now, Zenock has about 9% stake in Max Financial as of December 2016. And the floor price for the book is set at 607 rupees a share, which is a 6.7% discount to its current market price. Citi is the sole book runner to the deal. When the markets open, we'll watch out for that block deal.
Right, it is expected to see big volumes as well once the deal goes through. Another stock, Anisha, that will be in focus will be Vedanta. It's not a very big news flow. What they announced to the exchanges post-market hours is that there is a temporary disruption seen in Odisha project or Odisha operations, where aluminium and power operations are handled. It's a 1 week sort of a problem that they see. It's hit by power outage. So they have about 608 power pods, and out of that 228 are not working at this point of time, and they are taken out of production. They have not given a timeline, but generally about a week or 10 days is the problem, the problem that this should get solved into. Deutsche Bank has written a report on that, and they are saying that EBITDA can get impacted by 1.4% for FY18. That's for consolidated Vedanta earnings. Target price is cut by 2%. That's based on the earnings cuts that's happening based on this particular temporary disruption. They maintain their buy on Vedanta because they have a constructive outlook on global zinc pricing, and that's why they maintain their buy. In the pre-open session, it's indicating a 1 to 2 rupee higher start. Don't really think markets would take a big cut because of this, because they'll treat it as one-off, but definitely it can lead to EPS cuts of around 1.5 to 2%, how Deutsche Bank has already done it.
All right, the entire airline pack was on fire a day earlier. We've seen big gains across airline stocks. All stocks, Jet, Indigo, SpiceJet, all of them gained. Now we've got the March passenger load factor data, the kind of market share the aviation stocks have got. Now the good news was the March domestic air traffic was up 15% on a year-on-year basis, and in the traffic now, the passenger traffic is up for the 15th straight month. In February also the growth was about 15.7%. So the airline stocks are seeing an increase in traffic. Indigo's shares passenger traffic actually gained about 19%. They added capacity, so their PLF, which is the passenger load factor, was down slightly, but because of increased capacity, that's the reason why the PLF was slightly lower. SpiceJet had a PLF of 91.4%, so it's maintaining its capacities very well. Jet Airway has managed to hold on to its market share at 15.4%. So good news coming in. It looks like a lot of people in India are taking to flying, and we've seen good moves coming in for aviation stocks.
Right, it clearly surprised Anisha, as you said, that despite the base effect, it was up about 15%. And March, remember, is not a great month for airline companies, because there are a lot of exams for kids. So there is the overall travel is lower, but still a 15% growth is definitely commendable. That's why this move coming in. Mindtree declared numbers post-market hours. If you look at the numbers, they were slightly in line, but the outlook was on the positive side. So 1,318, that's about 1,318 crores for the sales numbers. Profits came in at 97 crores. It was slightly lower than what the street was estimating. EBIT came in at 140 crores, and the dollar revenue came in at about $196 million. Dollar revenue was decent, and it was slightly ahead of estimates. Growth overall was broad-based. However, margins expanded by 70 basis points. That also surprised the street. Another good thing about Mindtree was that the management outlook was pretty strong for FY18. So they expect a strong start to FY18, which means Q1 and Q2 are expected to be strong. They are confident about a decent recovery in FY18. They see low double-digit growth revenue in FY18, which is much higher than what they have done in FY17. And FY18 margins are expected to be better than FY17. That's essentially what the management is saying. Margins, of course, is the key trigger over here, because in the last 1 year, they have dropped their margins, but they are confident that margins would go up 4 to 5 rupees higher. That's what Mindtree stock is indicating in the pre-open session, 447. So we'll wait and watch as to what happens. Of course, you'll be joined by the management as well. 10 a.m. is when they are holding their press conference, and 12 p.m. is when we would talk to them on a one-on-one basis. So that's an interaction that one would not want to miss.
And of course, there are a few more stocks that are in focus on news developments. Let's go through them. We have a new listing today. We'll have the listing of Dollar Industries on the NSE. So this is only on the NSE. We have Crompton Green Power. Birla Mutual Fund has purchased 56.7 lakh shares at 79.5 rupees a share. We have HTIL. This is a real estate company with a large presence in Mumbai. They've come out with an affordable housing project in Mulund in Mumbai. We have Z Entertainment. The stock really moved up well a day earlier, and there are reports saying that Z is in talks to buy 9X Media. Indian Hotels has raised about 200 crore rupees via allotment of NCDs, and Bharti Airtel has launched an Android-based set-top box. So it's getting very competitive when it comes to cable viewing and viewing television on the internet.
Right, Anisha, HDFC Bank and ACC will also declare their numbers. We'll get previews for these names also going somewhere in the afternoon. Both these companies are expected to declare numbers. Both these companies would be in focus today. This is, of course, the pre-open price. Sharmila, what's your view as far as Mindtree is concerned? Numbers were okay, outlook is good, but do you think investors would wait for the Q1 performance, for that recovery to come in?
Yes, I think so, because I don't think that this is, in that sense, a very, it is a stock that has sort of outperformed the rest of the sector. So perhaps there could be a bit of a sell-off due to the numbers, but my guess is that the positive commentary will help.
Right. In terms of the margin commentary that the management has given, so they are expecting a big increase on a YOY basis for EBIT. Of course, it's gone down as well in the last year. But with dollar headwinds, do you think that street would wait for that EBIT performance versus what the management is saying?
So yes, I mean, as you said, you have to view it against the fact that, what dollar is doing and what the management is talking of. But I think, in an environment where really speaking, the positive voice on IT is far and few in between. As I said, that there could be, obviously there will be a reaction to the numbers today. But I think that done, you may actually see some kind of stability return to the stock.
Right. Mayuresh, what's your call on Hindustan Zinc? Good set of numbers, but these are commodity names. So one has to look on future rather than what's only happening with the numbers.
Oh, absolutely. Commoditized business, one is not really sure. in terms of how LME pricing will move out. But the biggest advantage that Zinc has got that it stays in the lowest quartile in terms of zinc and lead production. The smelters are moving at full utilization, so in that sense itself, the fixed cost of production of both zinc and lead is abysmally low. So in that sense, as volumes increase, the kind of leverage that they get on the balance sheets can be quite substantial, and the R&R, the reserves ratio, is quite substantial for Zinc, and all their mines, probably with the stripping happening at Rampur, Agucha and Sindesar Kurd. My own sense is that volumes will probably stay on the higher level. It's only about the pricing. So yes, I think that element needs to be watched out for.
Right, we're just awaiting the markets to open. As we told you, HDFC Bank, ACC are the big numbers today. Mindtree is a stock which will react to numbers this morning. These are first trades. Markets have opened higher, 9,179, so it's nowhere close to the first resistance. In fact, it's gone closer to the second resistance in opening. Sun Pharma is down about 6 odd rupees. Tata Power is flat with a positive bias, and Reliance Industries is at 1,381 odd levels. Mindtree, that's the earnings impact, 11,000 shares, 5 rupees on the higher side, 1.5% higher. Not much in terms of reaction, but definitely it's a positive reaction, and the numbers were also decent. Max Financial, the deal has gone through or not? Let's just see that. No, it's not gone through, but it's down about 3.5 odd percent. I think it should just go through in the next few minutes. The block deal window is open for 10 minutes now, so let's just see when the deal happens. 627, 3.5, 4% on the lower side for Max Financial Services. It's a stocks in news, and of course volumes are expected to pick up. Let's look at Vedanta as well. No major movement over there. 235, 236. Really no change as far as Vedanta is concerned. Aviation stocks all of them were buzzing yesterday. They're not following up with great gains, but definitely they did quite well today. So you had Interglobe, which was on the positive side. Spice was, of course, SpiceJet did well, and Jet Airways now is up close to about 3.5 odd percent. Let's look at some of the other names that are in news. So CG Power, there was a block deal, about 39,000 shares traded. That's about 40 to 50 paisa higher. HDIL has gone and launched one affordable housing project in Mumbai, 1.3% higher, 91 rupees for that name. Z, there are some news reports which suggest that they are looking for another acquisition, 535. And Indian Hotels was in news yesterday as well. Let's see what's the reaction today. Flat with a positive bias, and Bharti, of course, is also in news, but it's largely on the flatter side. Anisha, any other names which you can pick up on the volume side?
Pankaj, all the sugar stocks are seeing a strong up move today on higher than normal volumes. Bajaj Hindustan is up about 9%. We have Sri Lanka Sugars also buzzing. Dhampur Sugars up 6%. Dwarikesh Sugar up 5.5%. Balrampur Chini, Triveni Engineering. The cabinet has extended to, had decided to extend the sugar stock limits. But that is something which has been known for a day or two. But today the stocks are really doing well. All sugar stocks have moved up well. Sun TV continues with its up move, up 2%. NBCC is up 2%. JSPL is seeing some buying interest come back to the counter. So we are seeing HTIL also up 1.5%. So these are some of the names that have moved up. Like you mentioned, Max Financial Services is down 3%. India Cements is coming for a little bit of profit taking. It's had a stellar move over the last few sessions. And Sun Pharma, that one is now down 1.5%, 10 rupees lower. There may be some news developments on it. We'll watch out for that. But this is what we're picking up on Sun Pharma for now. It's down about 1%. Sharmila, what would you do with some of the pharma stocks like Aurobindo or Sun Pharma that have sometimes got these negative news developments about US FDA action? Though for Sun, there was relief on the Mohali facility. Do you think pharmaceutical stocks are presenting a good opportunity for long-term investors now?
Oh yes, I think so, because largely in the last couple of years, we haven't seen this sector go anywhere. And at the same time, the reason why the sector has really not gone anywhere was that at one point they were almost priced to perfection. And immediately after that, you saw a whole spate of inspections and a lot of negative news flow, for one stock after the other, as the inspections went on. And, I think typically these problems take a little longer to sort out than to be compliant absolutely with what the requirements are. And I think that now that time has sort of has passed, and I think a lot of these companies would now be in a position to move out of those kind of woes, and we are beginning to see signs of that. in terms of some companies not getting too many observations, etc., and they seem to be coming out of that shadow. And the stock market always discounts everything in advance, and if you look at the kind of market that we're in, which is absolutely ready to sort of get into the under-owned and beaten down sectors, I think it's a matter of time before you see some kind of buying return to pharma stocks. So perhaps we could be a quarter earlier, in saying, I could be a quarter or two early in saying that pharma could be the sector. But I think if this momentum in market continues, as well as they work, the companies themselves work on sort of putting these issues behind them, this could be an ideal time to really get into the sector and try and get into good quality names.
Right. Mayuresh, all sugar stocks are buzzing today, big up moves coming in. Some of the sugar stocks are at multi-month highs. Do you like this space? Any picks here?
Again, I was very selective a few quarters back, and what has really happened is that the production and supply dynamics have changed in favor of sugar producers. Couple that up with the kind of lesser increase that we have seen both in SAP and FRP prices, that has probably alleviated concerns in terms of balance sheets. And yes, a few of the sugar companies do have elevated balance sheets even now. The kind of leverage position makes it very difficult to comprehend the kind of cash flows that they will generate. So I was very, very selective on this space. The numbers can still be better because of the kind of price rises that we've seen at the dealer level and at again the retail level. But again, it's going to be more a case in terms of how the supply dynamics pan out. And as sowing starts increasing towards the sugar sector in this sugar season, probably I think those dynamics might very well change in the coming season. So largely again, I think that positive momentum in terms of price realizations might very well continue for the sugar sector. And because they are in a better position because of higher demand and lesser supply, lesser inventory that they'll probably carry at the end of the sugar season of close to 3.5 million tons compared to 7.5 that they carried last time around. And again, Brazil having tight supplies, the pricing even on the international bourses is quite stable. So again, I think that short-term momentum or spurt can be evident in sugar stocks.
Sumit, have you had a look at two stocks, CESE and GAIL? Both of them are trading near 52-week highs. What levels are you watching for both these counters? Do any of them look overheated, or are they good for more?
Well, Anisha, I think power stocks are looking good to me. In fact, if you see the move in last couple of days, we have seen a very good upside rally in most of the power stocks. As far as the question on CESE is concerned, we feel that CESE still has the potential to move upside. It has given breakout above 900 levels too. It was facing some resistance at around 900 levels, and today we are seeing the trading above 900 levels. Now, if a closing above 900 is seen, then we will see a very good upside rally in the counter, in which we can see levels of around 980, or even there is a possibility that in next couple of months we might see the stock trading in 4 digits. That means we can see levels of around 1000 also. So overall, this structure is looking very good. I think if anyone wants to initiate a position in CSE, then that should be on buy side. Those who have taken positions at lower levels, they can hold on their existing positions. And if anyone wants to initiate a fresh long position, then they can go ahead and initiate long positions at CMP for the immediate upside till 940, 950 levels. And overall, we are expecting this counter to perform well and touch levels of around 980 and 1000 in next couple of months.
Sumit, what's your call on Sun TV? Last 3 days, it's done pretty well. It's up about some 16-17%.
Yes, Pankaj, absolutely. This stock has also given a breakout. Looking at the chart, technically it seems that from here on we can see more upside in the counter, in which we can see 970, 980 as an overall target in Sun TV. So the overall structure is looking very good. Existing long positions should be hold on for the immediate upside targets of 980 levels. And if anyone wants to initiate a fresh long position, then they should wait for small correction or a small dip from present levels, and on lower side, if they get price around 880 or 900 levels, then that would be a very good buying opportunity for a trading perspective. 870 should be the stop loss. 870 should be the stop loss for positions for the upside target of 950, 980 levels.
Sumit, I think the audio dropped over there. What's the target on upside?
For Sun TV, 950, 980 should be the target, and 870 should be the stop loss.
Right. Sharmila, what's your call on Sun TV?
Very honestly, it's not a stock I've tracked.
Right. Mayuresh, do you track Sun TV?
Again, with all the political developments that have probably taken place, Sun has probably emerged as a big beneficiary of what has happened. But if one really looks at the media space as a whole, my own sense is that print media will still keep on doing well. Newsprint prices have come down significantly, and that has probably given some amount of cushion as far as the EBITDA is concerned. Because of demonetization, remonetization, you did see a blip happening in terms of advertisers on the local side not coming through. But again, with the entire phase of remonetization getting over largely in Q4, the volume growth specifically on the advertising front should be very, very robust over the next few quarters. A few of the print media stocks which have a huge presence in North India and specifically the Hindi reading belt, the subscription revenue on the back of increase of cover back prices should also support the realizations that these companies enjoy. So as a space, I think I'll be more inclined than this point towards the print media. Sun TV, I think, is highly influenced by whatever news flow happens around it. So I think I'll not be going around Sun TV at this point of time. But yes, print media is something definitely that I'll have a stock-specific approach.
Right. Max Financial has gone through the deal. So the deal has gone through where at the upper end of the base book, there has been a deal. The deal has happened between 616 to about 630. Of course, the stock is slightly higher than that level, and it's a secondary deal. So it's not that the company is raising money. Sharmila, in terms of financial names or what's happening with some of these insurance companies, you think Max Financial is a good bet if you want to play insurance?
Yes, but I think that the run-up on the stock has also been quite fast. So I think that you need to allow the stock to sort of stabilize at a level. So if you buy at this level, all I'm saying is that don't expect very quick returns. But yes, for the last year and a half, my focus has, as you know, been on the other financial names other than banking. Of course, it's been more on the NBFC side. But yes, I think, stocks which do have an insurance play are also worth looking at, and Max Financial was definitely a name at that point in time. But as I said, the run-up has been quite fast in this stock as well.
Right. Also, just let's pull up the stock of Dalmia Bharat. There has been a block deal over there of 25 to 30 lakh shares. On BSE, that block deal has happened, 2,115. And, there were increasing reports that KKR is likely to make some exit. We don't have any independent confirmation from the management or from KKR. But, that was one of the deals that was expected to go through. Sharmila, do you like Dalmia Bharat? It's a good play on cement, irrespective of this deal?
Yes, and we have again seen some amount of activity return to cement as a space, and as we were just discussing a while earlier, the expectation seems to be that you get into stocks where you expect sort of good things to happen going ahead, which is why you've seen a lot of focus come to infra names, come to road building names, in the hope that these will be the companies that will, when the capex cycle gets back, you will see a lot of these companies getting orders, and then I think the direct beneficiary of that is obviously cement, which is again an under-owned sector. So we've seen some amount of rally on a lot of these names. So again, I think that market is sort of taking sectors are sort of taking turns, and market attention is going from one sector to the other, because currently we are in a sort of a flux where our direction is not clear. So you are seeing outperformance still in the sort of away from the absolute frontline stocks and sort of sector specific. So given that, I think, yes, as you said, within that space, some of the other stocks have had a more brilliant run up, like an India Cements, for instance. Yes, so, the argument would be that if, again, you need to be careful at what price you're getting in.
Right. But overall on cement, you would be bullish?
Yes, I think, but as I said, you need to be a little selective.
Right. Sumit, of course, Dalmia Bharat is not a very well-traded counter. You could just look at some of the cement names like ACC, Ambuja, and maybe Ultratech, and just tell us that the trend in cement is on the positive side?
Yes, absolutely. The trend in cement space is on positive side. We are seeing a good move. Today we have seen a buy call in Ultratech too, and overall if we look at the space, all the stocks are looking good to me. In last couple of days we had seen that Grasim has given a very good upside move. Stock has given a breakout. So most of the cement stocks are looking good to me, especially frontliners like ACC, Ambuja, Ultratech, Grasim. All these stocks are looking very good on charts, and in next couple of months we can see a very good upside rally from present levels. I think in next 2 to 3 months time horizon, we could see a move of around at least 10 to 15%. And if there is any dip in any of the cement stocks from present levels, then that can be used as a good buying opportunity. Immediately, we feel that Ultratech Cement can give a move till 4150 levels. As far as ACC is concerned, 1530 is the level. Once if we see breakout above 1530, then we will see a move till 1650 levels. So overall, the space is looking good to me.
Right. Let's talk about Hindustan Zinc as well, Sumit. So we've got the fundamental view, but what's your call on Hindustan Zinc technically?
Well, say metal space is looking good to me. In next 2 to 3 months time horizon, we will see a good upside move in metal space. In last couple of days, we have seen that most of the metal stocks has given a correction, but now it seems that the correction will take a pause, and from here on we will see a pullback rally. And once the pullback rally is able to sustain, then we will see a good upside move in the counter, in which we can see levels of around 20 to 25% as a immediate upside in most of the metal stock. As far as your question on Hindustan Zinc is concerned, we feel that present levels are good levels to initiate long position in Hindustan Zinc. If by chance there is a correction of around 7 to 8 points from present levels, then that can be used as a good buying opportunity. And on higher side, 300 would be the immediate target for Hindustan Zinc. The day Hindustan Zinc gives breakout above 300 levels, we will see extended rally till 325 levels. So overall, for the move of around 40 to 50 points from present levels, one can initiate long positions in Hindustan Zinc.
Let's pull up the stock of Sun Pharma. It's right now among the top losers. So it's down and down about 2% or so. Of course, in their Dadra Nagar facility that they have, there was a FDA inspection, and some reports are suggesting that there may be 11 observations, and one of them seemed to be serious. So that's essentially what the reports are suggesting. Of course, the management has not yet said anything. Remember, it's a decently big size facility. It's not the largest facility for sure, but it's a decent big size facility that we are talking about. So that can have an impact as far as valuations are concerned. We are yet to hear from the management, but definitely such news flow first comes from US FDA and then from the management. So Sun Pharma is down about 2%. Sharmila, you think it's a good time to buy Sun Pharma, or with two of their largest facility, Halol being in an impact of US FDA, probably Dadra and Nagar, which got the inspection recently, is in problems, just stay away till you get clarity?
Yes, obviously, I think if you don't have the stock, it's best to at least hear out what these latest list of observations are. And, if, as you're suggesting, one is a serious one, then you need to definitely take cognizance of that. That said, I think a lot of the negative news is in the price, because I think this news flow that we are getting this morning is also something the market has known for the last couple of days, that there could be some negative news flow from the Dadra plant. But that said, as we were discussing earlier, while while the spate of news has sort of slowed down, and we do hear of some companies with fewer observations or not very critical observations, there's no getting away from the fact that this is going to be a thing that companies are going to have to deal with on a regular basis, and they really need to, in that sense, put their processes in place to be compliant with all these various inspections. So I think it's now going to be an ongoing process, and the faster companies are able to sort of bring, for instance, in the last couple of news flows that we've had from Dr. Reddy's haven't been that bad. So I think that's the kind of feeling you need to get, that they have sort of understood what is the process that needs to be put in place to so that they don't get these kind of observations, and then we will actually see how the stocks, then you'll actually start evaluating the stocks only from an earnings perspective.
Right. Sumit, there are some stocks that have had outstanding moves this week. Case in point, stocks like Adani Enterprises, Jai Bharat Maruti, India Bulls Real Estate. On the charts, what do you see for these stocks? And what would you advise investors? Wait for a pullback, or are they good for more?
See, Anisha, as far as Adani Enterprise is concerned, the stock is good. It has given a breakout, and the breakout which you have seen is after a long time, and it's a volume-based breakout. So the overall structure is positive for the stock. Now, as far as view for next 3 to 6 months time horizon is concerned, yes, one can initiate long positions. If people are short-term traders, then it's better to avoid, because we have already seen a huge run-up in the counter in last couple of days. But those who want to initiate positions for long-term, they can initiate positions at present levels too. And if by chance there is a correction of around 8 to 10 points from present levels, then that can be used as a buying opportunity. And the overall structure is good, so we expect the stock to move up from present levels and touch levels of around 180 as an overall target in next couple of months. So I think Adani Enterprise is a good stock. One can initiate long positions at CM for a longer term time horizon. And if there is a correction from present levels, then that can be used as a good buying opportunity.
Do you have a view on Jai Bharat Maruti and Indiabulls Real Estate?
See, it's better to avoid India real estate because the stock is overbought and it has given a very good upside move in last couple of days. From the levels of 100, 110, we have seen a stock moved up by 40 points in a day itself. So it's better to avoid Indiabulls real estate at current market price. And if there is a decent correction from present levels, then one can think of taking long positions. But as far as present levels are concerned, it's better to avoid long positions in Indiabulls real estate. As far as Jai Bharat Maruti is concerned, yes, in that stock, one can initiate long positions at present levels. Or if there is a dip or a small correction from present levels, then that can be used as a good buying opportunity for a longer term time horizon.
All right. Thank you for joining us on NDTV Profit and sharing with us all your ideas. Pleasure having you with us. Please give us your disclosures. Sharmila, let's start with you.
I could have a position in some of the stocks discussed.
Mayuresh, your disclosures?
So Anisha, all the stocks and sectors we have discussed, no personal holdings, but it is possible we have discussed this with our clients and we may be holding these stocks on behalf of our clients and our funds.
Sumit, your disclosures?
Absolutely, Anisha. We spoke about many stocks and especially the frontliner stocks which we have discussed on NDTV Profit. We share the same view with our clients too. So it's better to assume that our clients might have positions. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being with us on NDTV Profit.